At Beyond the Breakers, we believe that open water swimming belongs to everyone, not just the people who have already crossed the channel or finished a marathon swim. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who has built her entire coaching career around exactly that belief. She's a marathon swimmer, a triathlete, an author, and one of the most inclusive voices in our sport. Adina O'Neill is back at Beyond the Breakers for year three, and this time she's bringing Open Water 101. So here we go. Let's get into it, Adina. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to be back at Beyond the Breakers and have a chance to talk about it today.
Amazing. So before we dive in super deep, I ask all speakers this, give us the elevator pitch on you. So couple sentences, who you are, what do you want us to
Yeah.
know?
So the elevator pitch always starts with your name, right? So Adina O'Neill. I am a triathlon and endurance coach. I am the head joy coach, I like to say, at Team Be Real, which I founded. It's an endurance team for the regular everyday person. Be Real. Real has an idea of authenticity, but it's a realistic, empowered, attainable lifestyle. And it's meant for all the people who never felt like they fit in, like they're too old, too fat, too slow, too short, too this, too that, to the other thing, and just kind of never felt like they had a space. And I created this space so that way we could help everybody from the person who never got picked in gym all the way through the menopausal woman who's like, what happened to my body? To have a space that you can just love wherever you're at, chase some goals that challenge you without judgment, and just feel freaking awesome doing it.
That's amazing. I actually did not know that Be Real was an acronym, so really cool to learn that. I'm
Yeah.
curious, where did this come from? What made you build your coaching community around this principle? Was there like a specific moment or several moments that led you to this?
It's basically my entire life. Growing up, I was never a fast. I've been swimming since I was 5 years old, and I was the one who always won the Spirit Award because I was not fast. My two brothers were fast, and they won all the gold, first place and the ribbons and the trophies. And I loved the Spirit Award because I was good at spiriting, but nobody values the Spirit Award the same way they value those first and second and third place trophies. Well, except for me, but and that's kind of what I do now is, if you're first, second, third, last, trying spirit, like everybody needs that place that feel makes them feel like they belong, because no matter how hard I tried, I was not going to win. It just I'm not fast, and that's fine. So I'm good at being loud and having lots of energy, and well, along the line I was told not to be so loud, and it was just all the things that people were telling you not to be that I wanted to be or I was comfortable being as myself, and it stunk. And when I did my first triathlon, as a swimmer, all of a sudden, then people were like, "Wow, you're fast." I was like, "Me?" Because compared to so many other triathletes in most of the triathletes who are not swimmers, to have someone who came up and was a decent enough swimmer compared to those other people, I was fast, and I was just like, oh, you people don't know fast, but okay, this is kind of neat. But then over time, I realized that I didn't love that. I mean, I tried to get faster, and so I did different events and said, oh, let me see if I can get faster and place higher and go for these things. And I just, at some point, I just realized like it wasn't me. I still, like, I looked around, and I still had just like a regular old, road bike. And, wasn't trying to be this elite person. And there was some, along the way, there was a realization that that was not who I was, and I just wanted to have fun. And also just that even as I was getting better at things, people would start saying, "Well, you're so inspirational," and I was like, "What? I'm just like out here like trying something that I never tried before." And when I listened and heard what people were saying, that's when I realized that other people were feeling the same way that I was feeling, that they felt they didn't belong, not necessarily because they weren't a swimmer or because they were in a larger body, but it was a million different reasons why they felt they didn't belong. And that was kind of the reason to, oh, I need a space where I feel like I belong, but so do so many people, that they're not being judged as, whatever it is that is exciting and important to them. And it didn't have to be doing a full Ironman. I didn't know what marathon swimming was at the time. But, it's like, you want to do a sprint triathlon? That's awesome. Very few people are percentage wise, not a lot of people can do a triathlon, right? But you're in this environment where so many people are doing it, you lose sight of the fact of that what you're doing is still pretty cool. And I just wanted to have a space where everyone could feel like their effort and their goals were meaningful, and then they could belong without judgment.
That's amazing. Yeah, I keep telling people more recently, like I just been watching a lot of the social media around open water swimming and just kind of what it's becoming. And I try to remind people like it's just swimming. Like it's serious. Your goals are your goals, and you should take them seriously if they're important to you. But at the end of the day, this is supposed to be fun. And to your point, inclusive, and it's not a zero-sum game necessarily. So I try to remember myself, my athletes, just the general people who are listening. It's just swimming. It's supposed to be fun, and I think what your coaching philosophy gets at that. It's you don't have to win to do something really cool. You just
Nope.
gotta get out there and do it and find meaning in it for yourself. So I definitely think that's a really, really nice, important message, and people get a lot more out of sport and a lot more learning about themselves with that type of mentality. So it's really
Yeah.
nice to see that you're bringing that into our community, the open water community, triathlon community. So it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Thanks. It's
Um,
like people ask me, they're like, "Oh, well, what events are you doing?" I'm like, I don't know, I'm just going to the beach to swim. Like, it's like I don't do a lot of events. I mean, I have a lot of medals from when I did, and there was a
mhm.
time that all that was important. And I still, they're all memories. But I don't do a lot of events. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go and swim.
Yeah, I like to say I'm a soul swimmer. It's a
Yeah, I
reference
like
to
it. Yeah.
it was like one of the movies from the 80s, North Shore. It was but it was a surfing movie. It was a terrible movie, but he was a soul surfer because he didn't believe in competitions. I'm like the same way at this point in my swim career. I don't wear a watch a lot of the times, like unless I'm training. I'm just kind of like you. I'm just not just going out there and enjoying being part of nature. So definitely
Well,
resonates.
and part of it is I started to notice when I wanted to as I got into marathon swimming and the bigger swims, is that as you do these longer swims, there is an expectation for whatever reason that people, if you're doing these longer swims, you swim faster. And so even if I'm looking at there a lot of events, the other reason I don't do a lot of events is I can't make the cutoffs for those events. And so then here are these I was like, well, that sounds like fun. I was like, but it's not a place that I can be. I'm like, I may as well just go swim there on my own where I'm not limited. Like the idea of having a time cutoff is very stressful for me. I don't want to put that stress. I just want to go swim.
Mhm.
And so and I understand logistics are involved and money is involved. All this is fair. But so I was like, normalize not doing events. Just go swim. Like it counts, right? It doesn't have to be an event to count.
Mhm. Absolutely. So I think it's a good segue
Mm,
into my next question. So you wrote Forward is a Pace, and
yeah.
it's a book, about ordinary people finding the athlete, the extraordinary athlete inside them. So I'm curious, like, what does that phrase mean to someone who looks at open water swimming and thinks that's not for me? I can't do that. How does this book help them?
Yeah. So the idea of course I did not create the phrase. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, did you see it's here? It's here. It's all like it's a phrase that exists in the world."
Right.
But it really spoke to me because I'm not very fast, but I keep going forward. And I was like, I will get to the end. Like if I'm going to an event or if I'm have a swim that I'm trying to do, it's like we always try to swim the Nantasket lap. It's down and back. It's 6 miles. And I was like, well, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Like, I'll be there. I'm just going to keep moving forward. And that's where it started for me. It's like, you just keep moving forward. It doesn't matter how fast you're going. You start where you are and you keep taking one step at a time to advance. And sometimes it's a fast pace, a fast rhythm. You know, People say, "Oh, how long does it going to take me to train for, my first marathon swim or my first triathlon?" It's like, well, it depends. Like, you got to start where you are, and then you take the steps, a little step at a time, to move forward. You don't have to do it all in one go. You don't have to do it all in one year. That you don't get an extra prize for getting there faster. It's like, and by the way, like, my medal is the same as yours, unless you're like on the podium, you might get a prize then. But the idea that we have, everything you see, like you mentioned, social media and the Olympics. From the moment we're born, everyone's like, how fast can you go? How fast can you get there? Let's go faster. And everyone is rewarded for being first and being fast. But guess what? If you are, there's a very small percentage of people at that really high level. And so if you are showing up where you are and moving forward at whatever pace is comfortable for you, safe for you, accessible for you, based on your physical ability, your personal life. I mean, there's so much more involved than just how what your body shows up as. But you can go keep going forward. And we were joking around. I'm doing all this backstroke now. I'm like, hey, backwards is a pace. Like, I'm going backwards, but I'm still moving forward because that was what I decided to do. I got a little creative. And so now I'm like, oh, well, backwards is a pace. You stop and take a rest day. Like, that's part of moving forward
Mhm.
because your body needs to rest. It's not always about the physicality of moving in a certain direction.
Right.
So if you want to get in the water, get in the water. Like, if that's where you start. Someone asked me the other day, like, "Oh my gosh, how did you swim 2 miles in 56 degrees? I could only go 300 yards." She's like, "How do you do it?" I said, "You start at 300 yards, and then you move a little bit more." It's like that's how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a saying in all sports, right? But I think with marathon swimming, in particular open water swimming, it's what's the difference between the fastest person across the English Channel and the slowest person?
Yeah.
They're both channel swimmers. They both swim the
There-
English Channel. There's no difference. And honestly, I think that people who are out there longer, more power to them. But there's a
Yeah.
disproportionate you see the faster swimmers disproportionately on social media in the media because as a society we think fast is better.
That's
So you
right.
don't see all the hundreds or thousands of people who are doing their thing and having a great time doing it and probably having a lot more enjoyment out of
Yeah.
that activity. Whereas I think when you're going for a record, it's so much more stress. Like it's fun if you do it but there's just so much more stress to it. The training, it becomes your job, not an
Oh
enriching
yeah.
activity in your life. So I think that book, it sounds very interesting, and I think there's a huge need for it in the community. So it's really cool that you've written it and taken, I guess forward as a pace as an author. So to heart.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and it really does, as you were saying before. It transcends. It's more than just swimming. I mean, the book talks a lot about swimmers and triathletes as the basis, but the number of people, friends of mine, bought the book because they're my friends, and they're like, oh, they want to be supportive, which is lovely when you have friends just like to support you, and so they read the book. They're like, oh my gosh, I find myself saying that everywhere I go. And it's the same thing. It's like everything we learn through open water swimming and endurance sport, it just mimics what's happening in your life, right? So it's just like, yeah, like you're creating a conference, right? Or running a business. It's like every people are going at different paces and doing different things. Like I'm going to go at my pace and do what I'm doing. Hey, having a rough day, up forward to the pace. I'm going to get what I can get done. It's a lifestyle.
Very nice. So I want to jump into Beyond the Breakers now.
Yeah.
So you came as an attendee the first year, and I just wanted to briefly, ask you what made you decide to show up that first year. What did you expect it to be, and what was something that surprised you about the event that you weren't expecting?
Well, the reason I went, it was a whole day to talk about swimming with people who actually want to talk about swimming, as opposed to maybe other people in my life who don't always want to hear me talk about swimming. So I was like, oh, this is like a great. It's like I always like to meet new people, and it was nice and close. I mean, obviously, I live in the greater Boston area. It's like, wow, a cool conference that I don't have to like fly to, or you're just like show up. I mean, we know how much you love to fly, Craig. So, um, so I said that was great. And I think the thing that I loved so much about it was very low key. It was like the speakers, the presenters, and the people, we were just all kind of there chatting, talking to each other about swimming. Like that's what it was. It was just like going for a swim, going to talk about a swim. Yeah, that was it. It was very comfortable. So, and that's different. Like a lot of conferences, it's like the speakers are the speakers, and you could be a VIP and maybe see a speaker, something like that. But it was just a bunch of people talking about swimming. So it had a really cool vibe.
Very nice. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's what we tried to do is build the community, and the speakers are also swimmers, or they're involved with sport in some capacity, and I think they want to meet the people they're talking to just as much as the people who are listening want to meet them.
Yeah.
And that's that community, that sharing is was a big part of why, we took the leap and created it that first
Yeah.
year. So, the first year you were an attendee, last year came, you came again, but as a speaker. So what was your experience like as a speaker? What was it like being in the room on the other side of it this time around?
So there's two pieces. The first piece is it was kind of the same, right? Because the speakers and the attendees were just all kind of together, and I really love that because it's like that's a belonging thing for me. I like that everyone just like felt like you belong. There was no hierarchy of, oh, the speakers are here. And even then when I became a speaker, I wasn't on any different hierarchy. It was still just everybody was kind of the same. But I think the thing that was very different for me is that when I first, talked to you about coming to speak, there was a little bit of nervousness, right? Because usually speakers at conferences are the elite swimmers or elite people. They're people who are very well known and have this huge following, and it's the type of place where a small, I mean, I don't even know the right words because, a smaller person, that sounds stupid to even say, but there was a lot of, I have a small company. And I had a lot of pride to be included in a conference that had such a big reach. And to know that what I was doing was respected and invited and included, the inclusion person was included. Like there was a lot of pride with that. And that it's yeah, there was a lot of pride, and it just really, there was a little bit of nerves. It was like, oh wow, it's like I'm going to be one of the speakers now. And then it was nice to just, everyone was just there. Nobody felt out of place. I didn't feel out of place. I felt 100% welcomed and respected. And that was a really big thing to be kind of, if I felt like I was on the same level. I mean, I was chatting with Lenny Kraselberg about backstroke, and he looked at me and said, "You're crazy to be doing all that backstroke in the open water." And I was like, and we're just all people. We're just all people, and in the end of the day, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's really interesting perspective. I think, for me, you say you're, say, micro influencer. How's that instead of small
Yeah.
person?
Oh, micro influencer. All right, I'm gonna take
Um,
that one.
you're, I think everyone has a different perspective and a different experience. And that's important to have lots of views because I think that's the difference I've always seen between someone who's an Olympic swimmer does not mean they're going to be a phenomenal coach because they might not have gone through the same struggles that someone of my level of swimming
True.
has or someone who's been a lower. So they work hard but in a very different way, whereas people like us have to find ways to make it
Mhm.
work that might be a little more out of the box. So I do think there's a lot of value in having those voices on the stage to make sure that that gets out there because that is going to resonate with a huge population of people. So while yeah, maybe it's your local business, local coach, the reach and who you may impact could be far greater. And I think that's why it's always important for me to have a lot of different people from different backgrounds speaking about what they know. Because I think, just as you're saying, yeah, you're attending the first year, you're learning from the people on stage, you're a speaker the second year, people are learning from you. I mean, when I was talking to Sarah Thomas a few days ago, she was like, I didn't know what to expect. I thought I knew it all. And then I went and I was still learning stuff. And I think that's really
Exactly.
powerful and really incredible. And that's what we're trying to build by having
Yeah.
people you wouldn't expect on the stage.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, that was, your first 2 years. You're coming back this year, year three.
Yeah.
We're changing up with your topic a little bit. We're going to go open water 101. So with that being said, what made you choose that topic? What excites you about that topic? And what do you want someone to walk out of your session knowing that they may not have walked in with?
Well, open water one-on-one is looking at the beginner. And that's a sweet spot for me. There are a lot of people, who when they're first starting out, they believe that they already have to be on some level. Like the number of people you've probably heard it, they're like, well, when I get better, I'll call you to coach me. I don't understand how you're going to get better without working with a coach. And I understand the mentality is that people feel like they don't deserve coaching until they reach a certain level. They like, well, I feel like I have to know this first before I am worthy of that kind of coaching. And the message is the same. Like you belong. Like the ocean is there for everybody. There's no prerequisite to how far you can swim or what capability you have for swimming to get in it. And sometimes, so for me, I know that a lot of the athletes that I work with, they don't know what they don't know and they don't know where to start. How do I be safe? What do I even ask? So the idea that's just like, well, swimming sounds like fun, but people are like, oh, ask me any question. I don't even know what question to ask. So it's kind of setting that stage for the person who says, well, it sounds fun, but what does it even mean? And I taught second grade for 10 years. So I like to say that I have I do have a special skill that I'm able to kind of break things down into kind of their basic level and introductory level, but without sounding condescending about it. Because, like you're saying, you have those Olympic swimmers, and they're going to say, oh, like you don't know how to swim. And not to say that some Olympic swimmers may have that ability, but there's a very different approach to when I coach someone who's training for a marathon swim versus when I coach someone who's never been in the water and is learning how to swim. or maybe or someone in the middle has a little bit of experience and they've never been in the ocean. So that like first time piece is kind of my sweet spot. Like that's what I like to celebrate for myself, doing things for the first time. So having that ability to say, all right, well, open water 101 is my first time going in the water. What do I expect? What do I do? Like something super simple is like, what kind of bathing suit do I need? What do I have to bring with me? The really basic things that most people don't talk about because they assume you already know.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. I think it's the first time we'll be doing a open water 101 session. We've had some sessions geared more towards beginners, but this is truly, you don't know anything about open water. Here's how you start. And I
That's
think it's
right.
going to be amazing and just incredible. So I got two more questions for you, so be
Yeah.
respectful of your time. So first one, who is the person sitting at home right now watching this who absolutely needs to be at Beyond the Breakers in November? And like, even if they're not sure it's for them, who is that person? Who would you recommend this event to?
Anybody who likes the water, right? Like there are people who are drawn to the water, right? I've spoken to people before. They're like, I'm just drawn to the water. I like to walk by the water. I like to be by the water. I mean, for me personally, the water is the one place that everything like calms my brain and blocks the noise. And that can happen just by being near the water. And there's some scientific research that I can't quote, but that says that all the good things about being near the water. But there are people who just they're drawn to the water. Come listen, right? It's like find out how maybe you're gonna like to be in the water as much as you like to be near the water. So anyone has that kind of like draw, you like to watch the ocean, you like to listen to the water, you like to go on vacation, dip your toes in. Like there's so much magic out there to happen in the water. It's limitless. It's just like you look at it, it just goes on forever and ever.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree, but we'll see who shows up. So last question. Who who are you most excited to listen to this year? Outside of
Well,
yourself.
I listen to myself all the time,
Me
so
too.
um, I mean, I'm very excited to hear some of the speakers who are coming back. Like I didn't get a chance to hear Peter's talk last year, and I love what I met him last year, and I've been following all his ice swimming escapades, so that's really cool. And I mean, as a lifelong fan of swimming, you got to be excited to hear from Rowdy Gaines. You just that's a no brainer to me. Like he's the voice of swimming, and so it'll be really neat to hear what he has to say. And I'm curious to what he's going to bring with us. And of course, Sarah, her talk was really moving last year. It was not what I expected, and it really I love when the people who we think are of as these elite. I mean, she crossed the English Channel 4 times. Like that is elite.
Hmm.
And to hear her talk, you do remind her she's a regular person. And that yeah. So those would be. I didn't say one, but I gave three. So
We're very
there we go.
excited. I'm glad there's so many people you're excited to listen to.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Well,
Oh,
thank you
and
for the
Greg
time.
is Greg Skomal coming back? Shark Guy?
Greg is coming back to talk sharks. So very obviously he's a fan favorite. Greg and sharks. There's so many
Yeah,
shark encounters happening. Massachusetts, we just have a resurgence of them due to seal populations coming back. If you watch what's happening like Australia, I think there was some stuff going on in Florida. They're just making a comeback. So
yeah,
having Greg there, giving us the science so we don't have irrational fears is super
yeah,
important. So he will
yes,
be back. I think he's come to love our event because he's just like, who are these crazy people going in the
yeah,
open water? It's insane. But
yeah.
yeah, so he will be back.
Awesome, awesome.
Awesome. Well, that's Adina O'Neill, founder of Team Be Real, author of Forward is a Pace, year-round open water swimmer, and one of the most genuinely welcoming voices in this sport. Her Open Water 101 session at Beyond the Breakers 2026 is exactly what this event is built for, making open water real and accessible for everyone who shows up. If that conversation made you want to be in the room, come be in the room. November 14th and 15th at Bentley University in Waltham, Massachusetts. Tickets and full details at swimbeyondthebreakers.com. We'll see you there.